Hi, everybody. It's a dark and dreary day here, and so I've been reading more than maybe usual. But one of the things that I read this morning had to do with conversion experiences and change, and the impression that many of us have. Like take Saul on the road to Damascus, where has an encounter with the risen Christ, and he becomes Paul, the great apostle. So he goes from this guy who was really persecuting Christians to one who was a great proselytizer for Jesus. We have this impression that it happened instantaneously. He's going along, has this experience, becomes a new person. That's not how it happens in the Bible. There is a 3-day period where he's blind. It's like he's living in a cocoon during that time and learning and becoming acquainted with Jesus. And it's not until Ananias, another Christian, kind of cleans him up and baptizes him into the community which is where he ultimately finds his identity, that the conversion, the transition part of his journey is completed. And that got me to thinking about chemistry, actually, because I'm thinking, how do we, whether we're talking about individuals or churches or nations or families or cultures, how do we change, and how does that become a stable change and not just something fleeting? And it took me back to college chemistry. I want to go to the subatomic level with you for a minute to talk about change and transition. We all know that within an atom we have the nucleus, and then there are these electrons that orbit around the nucleus. When something happens and there's a lot of energy, let's say heat or something else, there's a lot of energy. The electrons absorb that energy and they become excited. They call it excited electrons. They're taking in this energy, and we don't know yet what's going to happen with it. We just know that, there's this potential energy building up. There comes a point in time where the energy is great enough. Now, you may remember from chemistry that electrons travel in different shells. And as they get more and more energy, they move up to the next shell. So that's exactly what happens. An electron can jump up to the next shell when the energy is sufficient. And if there continues to be the amount of energy needed for it to orbit the nucleus in that next shell up, it will stay there. Something new will be created. If the amount of energy is insufficient, if it dissipates while it's in that outer shell, it will fall back to its original shell. And does it mean that it will stay there forever? No, it could start accumulating energy again and make the leap again. And then it could either stay there or fall back. I have always likened that to how change happens in the rest of the world. Again, whether we're talking about individual change or change in behavior or organizational change, like with a nation or a church or a business, there's a lot of energy that builds up. There's agitation and energy, and you can feel the energy building, and then something will happen. And if the amount of energy is sufficient, the change will stick. It will continue in the next shell up. If it's not sufficient, if it dissipates, if there's not support for it, if there's not recognition of what happened perhaps, then we go back to the old state. And I think that that's exactly how change occurs. It's what I've experienced with South Church, with our changes over the last 14 years, with other churches that I've worked with. It's what I've experienced in my family with change of behaviors and changing habits. They say you have to practice a habit for, I don't know how many days it is, 21, 28 days, and then it becomes part of you. That's where you're putting the energy into making sure it stays in the new shell, in the new location. And if that doesn't happen, it's easy to fall back to where you were, the state before where you were. We are here in the Lenten season. We're now in the second half of Lent. We're about a little over a week and a half away from entering Holy Week and a couple weeks and a half away from Easter. And so this time has been, and it's not too late to start if you haven't been doing this, but this time is sort of a time outside of time every year that the Christian Church builds in to our faith development and our faith journeys, so that we can have that period of time where we know change is happening, or we know we've gotten off center, or we know that we're about to move into something new, and it's a time out. It's a period of reflection. It's yes, let's look at what's been going on in our lives. And it's really funny because I have a dear friend, and we have celebrated Lent together. I don't know how long we've known each other now, 15 years, maybe longer. Every Lent, whether we set out to do something intentional, like, oh, let's read a book together this year and talk about it, or email about it every day, or we just acknowledge that it's Lent and we get together a few times to talk during it. Every single year we have paralleled with where we're going, what we're learning, the kind of the internal process that's going on for us. And we haven't done that. We haven't talked yet this year, but I imagine that the same will be true. It is a time that our bodies often will latch onto, especially I think in the northern part of our country, where we have change of season, and this is the time when we're moving into spring. It sort of coincides in a nice way seasonally with the seasons in our lives. So I guess my question to you is, how does this apply to your life? Do you see places where you became very agitated? And by agitated, I don't necessarily mean a bad thing. It's just you're energized, you feel on the threshold, on the brink. Something is going to happen. You've become agitated, aware of this potential energy, and now it is beginning to unfold for where you're going. I have another friend who's just been going through a rough time, and she wrote to me not long ago, and we were talking about where she was in terms of being in the ICU. And then a few weeks later, she said, I think maybe I'm ready to leave the ICU. And so I said, yeah, you're going to rehab. It's kind of sheltered, but you get to grow through things, try new things, build your strength back, see who you are as the new person. And then every once in a while, you'll have a day pass where you're almost kind of back to normal, but you're not ready to claim that yet. And so you're going to stay in this sheltered setting where you're a little gentler with yourself, and others recognize that this has been sort of a traumatic time. I think we need to frame our lives when we're going through any kind of change, transition, growth spurt, or on the other end, sorrow, grieving, because that's a huge transition. If we are grieving, then there is a loss that brings about this huge transition to our being. Or if we have new birth. I think about when children are born into families, the whole family has to go through this period of transition, which is very similar. You develop new ways of doing things, and some of them you sustain, and some of them you go back to the old ways. I just think that this is a great image for me, and I hope for you, about what we're going through. We're going through it as a nation. We feel the energy building up around the vaccines, and some of us have tried new ways of living during COVID, and now we're going to see whether they stuck or not. Are our good habits going to continue? Or are we going to sink back to where we were? Where are you? How does this apply to your life? And I invite you to think about your spiritual life, your spiritual journey, and your relationship to something greater than yourself. Are you in the point of being in the first shell where you're getting all agitated because things are changing in your understanding of spirit? Or have you made a leap, some sort of spiritual leap to a new understanding? And if so, are you settled in there? Or is your energy dissipating and you're thinking, you may go back to the old way, which is fine. As I said, it can happen again, and you make the leap again. Maybe you leaped the first time and it was to the wrong place, and now you're looking for the next place. Where are you? At the subatomic level. How does that work for you? Okay. Enough for today. Thank you for joining me for this time to think of something greater than ourselves. I'm going to be pondering this again all day now. I hope you will too. I'm Pastor Deb Swift of South Presbyterian Church, and this Prayerful Pause with the Pastor is one of our ministries. If you are in a position to support that financially, we welcome your financial support. And if you just are in a position to support us with prayer, we welcome that just as much, believe me. The ways to contact us are on the end slide of this video, and we look forward to seeing you next time. I hope you have a great day. God bless. Take care. Bye for now.